Hello everybody, welcome back to Reading for Vocabulary. I'm Brian Stuart. In this lesson, Lesson 9, you'll notice an interesting title, Bravo! Encore! These are words that we say when we see a performance, a band, or somebody does a really good job, and we clap our hands, bravo, bravo, right? Very good job. It's like, 잘했어요, right? And that is the title of this lesson. So what is this lesson about? Bravo, encore? What are we talking about? Well, in this lesson, we will learn about the New York Philharmonic. The New York Philharmonic. Well, it's a 힘들어 word, right? That's a difficult word. What is the Philharmonic? The Philharmonic, the New York Philharmonic, is a large group of musicians, people who play instruments, all different kinds of instruments, okay? So we'll learn about them. We'll think about different sounds and what sounds are good and what sounds are bad, okay? So of course for good sounds we say bravo, encore. For bad sounds we say boo, oh, no good, right? Okay, so let's get started with the lesson, but before we do that, to give you an idea of what the Philharmonic is, we can take a look at this video here. This video shows an orchestra. That's one of the words we'll learn in the vocabulary, orchestra. An orchestra, as you can see, are many musicians playing together. There's different sections. Here we have violins, right? Over here we have the cello, right? Over in the back you have people playing trumpets or different kinds of horns. You also have the drummers. They're all in different places in the orchestra. And of course you have the audience outside, and at the end, if the orchestra is good, they will say bravo, bravo, encore, right? They will show their appreciation. They will say, wow, that was a good musical performance. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here, this type of orchestra. Let's begin with the words. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, number one, word number one. The person who leads a musical group. In the video, maybe it's a little hard to see, but there was one man standing in front of all of the musicians. And usually he has a stick, right? And he waves it like this, okay? What do we call that person? He's the leader of the musical group. We call him the conductor. 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 He is the leader of an orchestra. He leads the musicians, right? So he tells them when to play or, how fast to play, and he's always doing this. He doesn't make any music, right? He's just telling the other musicians how to play, okay? And he's like the leader. He makes sure they sound good. Okay, so that's the conductor. Next, we have a public performance of music. So before we saw the video, there were many musicians, right? So many. But look at this picture. There's only 1, 2, 3, and maybe a number 4. There's a guy behind there. This would just be a band, not an orchestra. But a band, an orchestra, sometimes there's just one person, a singer, right? But it's any public performance of music. Any time that somebody plays music for the public and there's an audience, what do we call that event? There's a special word for that event. We call it a concert. Concert. A concert is any performance of music that you go to. It can be one singer, it can be 4 musicians, or it can be many musicians. It doesn't matter. When you go to listen to music, it's called a concert. Okay, next one. Of course, I've mentioned this already several times, right? Especially in the video, I showed there's different sections. Now, these instruments, well, that's the word right there. It's hard to say. It's an instrument, right? It's a device for playing music. There are many types of instruments, okay? Instrument or instruments. Plural, right? Because here we see a violin, and of course here this is part of a tuba, and maybe this is a trombone over here. There's many kinds of instruments. Many kinds of instruments. I said like violin. Violin is a type. A tuba, right? The tuba is the big horn, right? That goes all around a person. It's the big bell out here. Boom, 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 right? Okay, that's the tuba. Then you have a violin. A guitar is an instrument. A flute is an instrument. There are many types of instruments, devices for playing music. Instrument. Okay, next one. A large group of musicians who play together. Don't say Philharmonic. Philharmonic is the name of one of these. We're looking for orchestra. Orchestra. 3 syllables. Orchestra. Orchestra. An orchestra. The Philharmonic, the New York Philharmonic, is a type of orchestra. It's the name of that orchestra, right? But it's a large group. You can see many people. It's a very large group. And in that group, you have smaller groups, each playing different instruments. You may have a group of people who play the violin, a group of people who just sing, a group of people, just one person playing the piano, a group of people playing the flute. So an orchestra is a large group of musicians. In the orchestra, sometimes there are smaller groups of musicians playing the same instrument, and they can make a really big and powerful sound, and that's special about an orchestra. Okay, next one. U.S. President Barack Obama, but that's not the word, right? Important in history. Someone who's important in history is, something that is important is historic. The reason they're using this picture is because he is the first black president. It's not because it's Barack Obama, it's because of the historic event. First time that a black person has been the president of the United States, that is historic. It's important in history. So, of course, first times are very important in history. Wars are important in history. Discoveries are important in history. These are historic people or historic events or historic places, right? We can use historic as an adjective to describe many different things. So historic people, historic places, historic events. Okay? Next one. 6, to go into. This woman is walking into, what is another word for that? Is to enter. She's entering the building. To enter the building. When you go to school, you enter the school. Then you enter your classroom. It means to go into a place. Next one. Wow, these kids, they want to be part of an orchestra, right? They're practicing. They're all lined up. They're playing, looks like a type of flute, to entertain people by playing music. So to entertain people by playing music, what word can we use? Perform. To perform. Now look, this is a verb. To perform. But we can also change this word to a noun, and we can say performance. Okay? If we add A and C, and we don't say to, we say a performance, that then becomes a noun. This is a noun because it is when people get together and they play music or they do something to entertain other people, we say it's a performance. What are they doing? They are performing. Okay? So perform is verb, performance is noun. Okay, next one. 8. A group of people who watch or listen to something. So this is an interesting word. It's an important word. Let me make sure I teach you something very important here because I hear a lot of Konglish, okay? Look at these people here. All of these people are looking at, they're listening to the music played by the orchestra. Now, these people are not musicians. They are not part of the orchestra. We call them the audience. The audience. But this is the important thing. The audience is all of these people, not one. You cannot say he is an audience. No, he is not an audience. He's part of the audience. The audience is a big group. The audience is a big group. So don't say the audiences clapped. No, the audience clapped. But if you want to talk about one person in the audience, you have to say audience member. Audience member. If you want to talk about one person or a few people, you can say audience member or audience members. Don't say the audiences. Aniho. It's only one audience. It's one group. It's like team, right? You wouldn't say the team kicked the ball. No, the team member kicked the ball. Okay? When we say team, we're talking about a group of people. When we talk about audience, we're talking about the whole group of people. If you want to say one or two people in that group, you have to say audience member or audience members. Okay? Please be careful. I hear a lot of mistakes with that. Okay, next one. A thin stick used to direct a musical group. I talked about this guy before. Remember him? He is a conductor. But I said he has a stick that he waves in front of the audience. Like you go, you guys play. Okay, you guys, right? And he'll use that stick to show the rhythm or how people should play the music, right? He uses a stick. What is the stick called? It's called a baton. Baton. A baton. So the conductor uses a baton when he conducts in an orchestra. A baton. Okay, next word. A person who performs and writes music. So if this boy can play the guitar, but he can also write the music. Some people just play music. Somebody else wrote it, they read it on a paper, and they play it. But if somebody who performs and writes music, what do we call them? We call them a musician. Okay? Now, of course, they don't just also have to write music. Many musicians also just perform. Okay? Somebody who performs music, we can say a musician. Somebody who writes music is a composer. Okay? So, but somebody who performs and writes together, we can say, of course, they are a musician. Okay? Next one. A large number of people. So a large number of people. What do we call that? Of course, we call that a crowd. When there's many, many, many people, right? So do you say saram mana mana maneo? Or is that right? Okay? That's many, many people together. You can say it's a crowd. So if you go to a baseball game or a soccer game, the people, the audience in the stands, that is a crowd of people. Many people. Okay? Next one. To guide or control. We say to lead. To guide or control something, we say is to lead. Maybe he is leading his team. So to lead. Lead is an irregular verb, so it changes form in the past tense. Let's see. It goes lead, led, led. So when we use this verb in the past, we use led, led, led. Lead, led, led. Okay, next one. We're talking about to make something happen in a certain way. To make something happen in a certain way. And we can see a calendar here, a calendar with many dates on it, and somebody's marked the 14th, and they did it with a love sign, right? So I'm wondering, what is that? That looks to me like it's February 14th, right? I don't know, but I'm guessing, because February 14th is Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day. So I think this calendar is of February, And 14th is marked with a heart because it's Valentine's Day, when boyfriends and girlfriends say, I love you to each other, right? But anyway, so what are they doing? They're making something happen in a certain way. They are saying that on the 14th, we're going to have Valentine's Day. We're going to have maybe a party, or we're going to have a date, or we're going to do something special for that day. What are they doing? They are setting that day, or they are setting an event that will happen in a certain way. So to set. Set is an irregular verb. It doesn't change form in the past. Set, set, set is the verb. Next one. A large room for meetings or concerts. So it's a large room where people can have meetings, they can have concerts. What do we call that room? That room is called a hall. And many times you can see the word music hall, concert hall. Those words usually go together, okay? So a hall can be a large room where a performance or a meeting is held. Okay, next one. Wow, look at that. Many, many lights. To become full, in this case full of lights, we can say to fill. These lights fill the space. If that's the sky, stars fill the sky, right? So if you, there are many people, a crowd of people will fill the hall. They make it full. There's no more room. Okay. Next one. To move slowly on water or in the air. Look at this balloon. It's a big balloon or ball filled with air, right? It stays on the top of the water. If we put helium, right, some gas in this ball and let it go, maybe it will go up in the air. What do we say? It is floating. So something can float on the surface of the water, but if something flies just in the air, you know, it doesn't have any control, it just kind of floats in the air, like soap bubbles. You blow and all the little bubbles, they float away in the air. And clouds will float in the air. Some balloons will float. So to float, to move slowly on water or in the air. Okay, those are our words. Lots of words to remember, right? Let's see how well you remember what those words mean. Here we have exercise 1. Our job is to complete each sentence with a word from the box. So we have sentences here. We'll have 8 sentences. We have a blank in each sentence. We need to fill those blanks with these words. Let's review the words. First we have conductor, conductor. Next, instrument, instrument. Next, orchestra, orchestra. The next one is historic, historic. Next one, performed, performed. Now notice that performed, past tense, right? Because our root is here. Our basic word is here, perform, but it's past tense. We use performed. Okay, next one. Audience, audience. Next one is concert, concert. And finally we have enter, enter. That's easier, right? Okay, let's take a look. Number 1. The pianist. Remember, a pianist is someone who plays the piano. The pianist's first beep was held last year. So think about this. The pianist, what does the pianist do? When a musician, and it doesn't matter if it's 1, 4 people, or many people, they entertain an audience with music, what do we call that? It's a noun, right? We say it's a concert, right? The pianist's first concert was held last year, because here we're looking for, it's like a performance. Concert and performance are the same, but don't get confused, because performed here is a verb. It's not performance, right? Concert is the word we're looking for. That is a noun to talk about the performance or the event that a musician plays to entertain people. Okay, number 2. The only musical beep I can play is the piano. So the piano is a type of this. Remember when we talked about this word, I said there are many types of these. They're devices that people play. A guitar, a flute, a tuba, right? The big tuba, or a violin. In this case, a piano. The only musical what? The only musical instrument. The only musical instrument I can play is the piano. I can ask you, can you play a musical instrument? Say, no, I can't play any musical instrument. Or, the only instrument I can play is the piano, or the guitar, or the flute, or whatever. Most people can play a drum, right? Maybe not well, but you can play the drum. Okay, next one. Number 3. I wanted to beep the room, but the door was locked. Well, think about that. You want to do something with the room. You obviously want to maybe go inside the room, but you can't because the door is locked. If the door is locked, you cannot go into the room. Go into? What word means to go into a place? What word here? You're probably looking for this one right here, right? Enter. I wanted to enter the room, but the door was locked. You can't enter when the door is locked. Okay, next one, number 4. Last night she beep a concerto on the piano. A concerto, by the way, is a type of performance, okay? So, it's a type of musical piece that people will play, and she did it on the piano. So when somebody plays music, another word for that verb, right? And she did it last night, so it's in the past tense, right? What do we say? What verb means to play some type of performance, right? Like a concert or a performance. If you do that, you're performing. Last night she performed a concerto on the piano. Okay? So she performed. She performed a concert, or in this case a concerto, a performance on the piano. But if you say she performed a performance, that sounds a little weird. It's okay, but performance, too similar. So we say concert or something else. Okay. Number 5. All the people watch the beep event on television. The what event? What kind of event on television? And all the people watched it. So it was very important, right? It was very important. What kind of event can you watch on television? A conductor event? That doesn't make sense. An orchestra event? Well, that's weird. What about a historic event? All the people watched the historic event on television. That makes sense. That's correct. Okay? So if it's a historic event, it's very important. In history, many people will watch it. 6. He is the beep of this musical group. So we need one person, right? A word that describes a person in a musical group. Remember, one type of musical group is an orchestra. Well, what is one person in an orchestra? One person. An audience? No. An audience is a group of people, right? So it's not audience. Can it be conductor? He is the conductor of this musical group. That's the only word there that describes one person of a musical group. And remember, audience is not part of the musical group. And also, remember, audience is a group of people, not one person. We can't say he is the audience. That doesn't make sense, okay? Unless the audience is only one person, right? Only one person watching, that would make sense. But of this musical group, well, actually, that could be possible. But in this case, we're looking for conductor. Okay, next one. 7. There was a large beep in the music hall. There was a large what in the music hall? What are we looking for? We're probably looking for how many people came to see the concert. So there was a large, think about if there was a crowd of people, many people came to see the concert and they gathered in the music hall. Many people who watch a musical performance, we call them, of course, the audience. There was a large audience in the music hall. So audience is better for this sentence here. 8. A full-size beep is called a philharmonic. So there we have a little bit of answer as to what philharmonic means, right? We're talking about the New York Philharmonic. What is it? It's an orchestra, but it's a full-size orchestra. That means that an orchestra with all the different instruments, all the many people who play those different instruments, if you have a certain number of people playing certain instruments, we call that a philharmonic. So philharmonic is a type of orchestra. Okay? Let's stop there, of course. That's the end of our exercises. Let's take a short break now. We'll come back and we'll look at the reading, and the reading will be about the New York Philharmonic. So, take a short break first. We'll come back in just a few seconds.